right, guys, we are now into tactic 6. I'm telling you right now, this is the one that if I was going to leave any chapter out of this book as far as this video series and these lessons are concerned, it would be this one. And here's why. When we talk about tactic 6, it says catch people in your web, internet lead conversion. There's a couple concepts I really want to pull out of that, but here's what I am going to recommend. And I've told you this multiple times. This course is not meant to teach you everything that is taught in the Shift book. You need to get the Shift book. You need to go through it, and I would go through it over and over and over again, and not just during a shift. But this is the one chapter that I will just tell you is that I'm going to recommend go through the chapter, get what you can. I'm going to pull some things out that meant something to me and that I want to emphasize to you. But at the same time, to really get this, know that what is happening online is an ever-changing thing. It is growing, it is changing, and that is an art in itself. It's also a science, okay? There's a lot that goes into it, and there's people that have full-time careers just trying to figure out what effective marketing looks like online. So they hit some basic concepts here, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's an area that if you're really going to excel in, don't expect that this Tactic 6, this one chapter, is going to tell you what you need to learn about your web presence and about internet marketing. So it's a good overview. There's a couple things in here that are important, but I'm telling you right now, if there's any chapter that we could do a full course on, and then that course would have to be ongoing and changing all the time, that would be the topic within this book, okay? So here's a couple things I want to really kind of point out in this particular chapter. They do start out by saying, and they say it in a couple different ways, but I'm just going to be real blunt about it. It says, think tactic 5. What does that mean when we're in tactic 6? Get to the table. What they're trying to really point out in this chapter is that the whole goal of your web presence is still has nothing to do with tactic 6. It has to do with making tactic 5 happen. You want to make sure that your web presence helps you achieve what we talked about in tactic 5, which is somehow your web presence really has to have a goal of getting you to the table. Has to do with getting you in front of people so that you can get that appointment and get to the table. Now, I'm not going to go back over tactic 5, but I could really hammer that home that that's really what they're talking about over and over and over again in this. So it's almost as if tactic 6 isn't going to teach you all about what you need to know about your web presence. And what it's going to do is it's going to supplement, if you do web presence, make sure that it's helping you achieve tactic 5. So I almost see tactic 6 as its own course, and I also see it as kind of a subset of tactic 5. So here's a couple things I want to point out on here. When they are, even right on the first page, they are talking about that sometimes you're going to need to take a look at your internet strategy. And here's one that you're going to remember from previous tactics. You're going to need to possibly re-margin your business to take into consideration what your costs are going to be for your web presence. And it says the shift has forced you to re-margin your business, cutting spending on everything that isn't leading to real financial results. So there is a lot of different ways that you can approach your web-based presence. Some of it isn't going to cost you a dime. It literally isn't going to cost you a dime. It might just come down to your presence in your social media, from Instagram to Facebook or whatever, wherever your presence is the strongest. There's another marketing class I just went through that I'm going to be honest, her whole focus is that we focus as agents in real estate too much on real estate, and she's amazing at what she does, and her and I kind of preach the same thing, is that if you have a profile, again, we're talking no money first of all, okay? We'll get into the money side in a minute. But if you're talking about your profile on Instagram and Facebook and you're going to do some real estate on that, she promotes real heavy that maybe 80% of this is personal and 20% is your presence in real estate, okay? So it's not basically making your profile and making that your business page, okay? And doing nothing but real estate. You're just going to have people that are going to unfollow you. And remember, they can still remain friends with you and just click unfollow so they don't see you in their feed at all. So when you do have something important to share in real estate, they're already not seeing that. So take those types of things into consideration. Now, the reason why I wanted to point this out on this first page, and I wrote in the margins here, is this. What they're talking about is that you need to make real financial considerations, and you really need to look at this financially. Now, you're just not capable of doing that without great tracking. This isn't a feeling. I think I'm getting good results. Nobody cares how you feel, okay, on this. We want hardcore, real numbers. We want to know if the money that you're spending in whatever you're putting into, from marketing, from a web presence, how do you even know that you're getting results, and how are you tracking that? So when we start with the first page of Tactic 6, it isn't, which on my book, if you have the spiral bound, is 109. It's not until they get all the way till page 124. Okay, it's about 15 pages later, they start talking about using a CRM, database management, and all of those types of things, and using that as one of your tools to start tracking. So everybody that you're calling, are you putting them in your CRM? Are you tagging them properly? Are you able to tag them in a way that you can pull reports? And in that reports, you can see what's effective this week versus what was effective last week. Now, why do I say this week versus last week versus the previous week? Why am I not talking months? Why am I not talking quarters? Because if you get far enough into this chapter, what they're going to say is that you want to be able to move quickly. If something is working, you keep doing it. If it's not working, it's going to tell you to shift tactics quickly from a web-based perspective. That's why I was talking about whether you can pull your numbers and know if what you're doing is working effectively per week. Now, for me, I do want to know per week. I do want to know per month, and I do want to know per quarter. And I also want to know what that is this year on this week and this month compared to this week and this month and this quarter, same time last year and the previous year. So what I wrote down here, because it takes them another 15 pages before they really get into it, I'm hammering home tracking matters. Tracking matters. And then what else I wrote on there is, what does your system for this look like? And if you've ever done any coaching or any lessons with me around systems, I'll tell you this, one of my pet peeves is people constantly preaching that systems matter. That's an incomplete sentence. It's an incomplete system. A lot of people have systems. What matters is having systems that you will honor. Okay, so when you're building out your systems, I don't care if you have a great system. I don't even care if you have a great tracking. I don't care if you have great hashtags. I don't care if you have a great way of categorizing everybody. If people aren't using it and you're not actually using the system and the tools that you have developed, then you need to go back to square one. You need to develop systems that you will actually use. Okay, so that's the key to the systems part of it. Okay, but I agree with them, you have to have systems and you have to track. That's going to come a little later in that chapter. They are going to focus on the fact that whatever your website is, that it's just a tool and a resource to provide the customer with what they want. If you're not providing them with what they want, if it's nothing but your business card online, it's ineffective. I'm not going to dive into all of that. They're going to talk about different internet lead generation models. I'll let you go through all of that. Again, this is a whole separate class in my world, but there are a couple things I want to talk about. This one, when we get into page 118, we started on 109. So about 9-10 pages in, they start talking about something, and I'm just going to read it right off the page here. Okay, and that is, it's a bit counterintuitive. I can't do this without my glasses barely. But the best way to succeed online, I can't believe this next line more, is, but the best way to succeed online is to market your website offline. So here's what I wrote in the way I talk typically is, does your passive marketing support your active marketing and vice versa? So think about it from this point of view. is I'm going to just give a scenario that's very, very typical for a typical real estate agent. It's the first of the year. On the first of the year at midnight of the new year, we all of a sudden see all of these expireds come on, and everybody starts calling expireds and everything else like that. Now, we know that a lot of those calls are going to turn out to be nothing. Okay, you're not worried about the 98 that said no. You're excited about the 2 that said yes. We're always looking at the positive. But even the 2 that agreed to get together with you, or you at least had great conversations, that you are in a position that you've developed a relationship, that they know that you're going to be following up, or you set an appointment with them. Regardless, it's in a good position. It was a great conversation. You need to think about it from this point of view. Is there anybody that's going to talk to you? They didn't know you yesterday. They didn't know you 5 minutes before you gave them a call, but you had a great conversation. It went well. How many of those people do you honestly believe in today's market are not going to hang up, and they've agreed to meet with you or have another call with you, and they're not going to Google you or look you up online? And my question to you is what you have online. Because the first thing that you did was your active marketing. You picked up the phone and you actively spoke with someone. You actively interacted with someone. Does what you have online, your online presence, which I consider passive marketing, active marketing, passive marketing. Very, very, very specific. Active versus passive. Does your passive market support your active marketing? Okay, so I'm going to read their line again, but know what I'm thinking is your difference between your active and your passive, and how well do they support each other. Okay, now it's a bit counterintuitive, but the best way to succeed online is to market your website offline. 100% agree, 100% agree, 100% agree. Now, it can also, I'm going to take it one step further. If your passive marketing, which is your websites, which is your social media, all of those types of things, if it's done right, can you create enough top of mind, enough presence in the area that you are trying to market, so when you do some active marketing and you reach out to them, they're all like, actually, I think I know who you are. I think I've seen you. I think I've actually been to your site. So sometimes the passive marketing, your web presence, is what makes your active marketing even more effective. Now, sometimes your active marketing helps that your passive marketing, that it verifies you and validates you what you're doing active. They all help each other, okay? Now, from there, we're not even talking about spending all the money yet. Now, some of these may be paid ads and stuff like that, but realistically, this is just about your web presence. So I want to point those things out. There's so much more information in this chapter, but these are things that they don't quite emphasize at the level that we are in this video. So I want to make sure you're getting some of these things. Then the next point that they make that I really highlighted was the key to make sure that your online and offline marketing complements each other. It's pretty much what I'm just talking about right now. Okay. And I'm shocked that I can read any of this without my glasses. And then it goes back to capture, connect, cultivate, and close leads. And then I highlighted, because they're going to push it again, which is they're trying to use what your web presence is for to accomplish tactic 5, which is get to the table. Now, there was something I did want to point out here. Let me get to it. And they've got stats in here, and I wrote a note right on the stats that they gave. How accurate are these stats? Today, 1, 3, or 5 years from now, okay? So nothing wrong with this chapter, but there are things that are stated in here that may not apply, and they may not be exactly accurate to an in-depth marketing course, say a year from now, 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, if we're talking about internet leads. So I'm going to leave it at that, actually. I'm not going to go any farther into Tactic 6. I am going to tell you that I would definitely read the chapter. I would definitely take what it takes into consideration as you're developing your strategy for your web presence. It does go through lead capture, and when do you actually ask for their name? Do you require it right away for them to give their information, or you wait until they have so many searches and they've saved so many searches before it requires their data be entered, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm not even going to hit on all of that. I just wanted to share and pull out a couple of these things that we did in this video. Now let's move on to tactic number 7.